morning, students. Today I will be discussing about the security measures to counter the threats posed from the internet. The first security measure that we must take is to install an antivirus software. Antivirus software works against viruses. They can identify the viruses and then clean the virus-affected programs or files. Nowadays, antivirus programs are very powerful and they can work against almost all kinds of attacks. So it is mandatory to have a full and legal version of antivirus software installed on our computers. The next type of security measure is to provide a user ID and a password. Computers connected in a network can be secured by providing user ID and password for each user. Now there are few important points or steps that need to be taken to enhance the security. The username should be different for different users. Password typed should be a combination of alphabets, numbers, and special characters. One should never share his or her password with anyone, and the password should be changed periodically. The third security measure is to set the file permissions. Certain confidential data or application should be accessible to only authorized users, and for that to happen, the file permissions should be granted to the authorized users only. The fourth security measure that we need to take is to scan any attachments before downloading it from the internet. Email attachments are very common, so make sure that you scan any attachment that comes through your email before downloading it. The next security measure is to provide digital signatures. I guess all of you must be having your own personal signatures. So, just as how manual signatures prove the authenticity on paper documents, in the same way, digital signatures prove the authenticity for digital documents. A digitally signed document is more authentic and legal. The next type of security is to get a digital certificate for the authenticity of a website. A digital certificate is a digital document issued by a certificate authority to the websites. So if you want to perform any monetary transaction, then go for digitally certified sites only. The next form of security measure is to install a firewall. A firewall can be a hardware or a software. Any data traffic coming from the network into your system has to pass through a firewall. So, the firewall will act as a bridge between your system and the network. You can configure your firewall to allow or disallow communication from certain computers or networks. Firewalls prevent your system from communicating with untrusted and unrecognized websites. The next type of security is providing data encryption and decryption. Before I explain you about this, just think of the password that you set in your email or at the Facebook social networking site. You type the password as a plain text, which may consist of letters, numbers, or some special characters, such as a $sign or a question mark. Now, do you think that the password you typed will be stored exactly as it is in the servers? Well, the answer is no. This is because your password, which was typed in plain text, will be first converted into a different code before it gets stored into the server. This conversion is done so that no intruder can recognize your password. That means your password, which was in plain text, will be codified into a ciphertext. And the process of translating a plain text into a ciphertext is known as data encryption. Let's take an example. Say your password in plain text is ABC123. Now, if that has to get stored in the server, the password ABC123 will be first codified into a ciphertext. Let's say, for example, it is codified into 10111, and then it gets stored in the server. So instead of the plain text, that is ABC123, what gets stored in your server is the ciphertext, which is 10111. As a result, this ciphertext hides your actual password, which was ABC123. As a result, with the help of data encryption, the password becomes nearly impossible to break by any intruder. All those ciphertext can be again converted to the original text using a technique called decryption. The task of doing that conversion is actually a complex process, which requires skilled programmers to do so. That's why it's not an easy go for the intruders to break in. The next form of security is to enable or disable the cookies by seeking the user's permission. We all know that a cookie is a small file in a website which stores your user ID and session-related data. Example of session-related data can be your login and logout time. So we should allow cookies from trusted sites only and not from untrusted sites. If you allow the cookies to store your ID and session-related data, make sure that the website is trusted. If the website is not from a trusted source, your ID and session-related data can be hacked. The next security measure is to update the security patches of the operating system. A patch is a file for an operating system. Usually the operating system vendors regularly issue security patches to help computers fight against possible threats. So we must update these security patches regularly to secure our system. And the next type of security is to take regular backups of our computer system so that we can recover our valuable data and applications stored in the computer in case of any crisis, such as in the event of a system crash. The next important security feature is the use of Capsa to identify whether a given input is a human-generated or auto-generated. Sometimes hackers may write programs that will automatically try to create login to the websites through random auto-generated IDs and passwords. In such cases, so as to prevent the login to those websites through auto-generated IDs and passwords, the concept of Capsa was introduced. Capsa provides some graphical characters on web pages that can be read only by human users and not by robots. Those graphical characters can be pictures or images, which can be identified by only the human users and not by the robots. So many websites offer this feature to avoid automated access. The full form of Capsa is completely automated public Turing test to tell computers and humans apart. diagram in this slide shows an example of an image capsa.